Back in 2018, the FDA unveiled a new 5-year plan for supporting antimicrobial stewardship in veterinary settings. More recently, the plan became policy to fight AMR, or antimicrobial resistance, in both animals and people. Colleen Krantz of our news partner Market to Market has the encore story.
For nearly a decade, the nation's spotlight has shone squarely on livestock when it comes to antibiotic use in animals and concerns about resistant bacteria. While U.S. regulations implemented in 2017 helped drive down the sales of certain antibiotics for use in livestock by 38% between 2015, the peak year, and 2021, concerns about bacterial resistance have not eased. In response, the European Union in 2022 created greater powers in Europe that would allow them to withhold certain medically important antibiotics from animals. The European Union didn't focus only on livestock, but included man's best friend, as well as their feline counterparts and other companion animals.
We don't have those restrictions in the United States right now, but there is concern that if we don't take very good care about the way we're using antibiotics, that we're going to have problems not only with treating our veterinary patients, but potentially in human healthcare as well.
Pets have not been the primary focus of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration when it comes to preserving the effectiveness of antibiotics, particularly those used to combat disease in humans. But that may soon change. The FDA declined Market to Market's request for an interview, but sent a written statement that said, to date, the majority of FDA's Center for Veterinary Medicine judicious use policies have been focused on food-producing animals. However, as part of FDA's 5-year plan supporting antimicrobial stewardship in veterinary settings, CVM intends to develop and implement a strategy for promoting antimicrobial stewardship in companion animals. Researchers say that more than 60% of the roughly 1,500 known pathogens that affect humans can be transmitted between animals and humans.
It's pretty new that people are starting to evaluate antibiotic use in pets. I think the reason why food animals have been the focus for so long is because they're large, so the actual amount of drug per patient is a lot larger, say for a cow, than it is for a tiny little chihuahua. But the thing about companion animals that I think people are starting to key in on is that they share the same environments that we live in. So, we have cats and dogs living in our house. We have cats and dogs oftentimes living in our beds, too. They sleep with us. We share ice cream cones with them. So the interaction between those animals and humans is actually a lot closer, which means that we're likely sharing bacteria sort of in and on our bodies with those animals much more closely.
Dr. Granick is one of 3 women behind the Antimicrobial Resistance and Stewardship Initiative at the University of Minnesota's College of Veterinary Medicine. The campaign, partially supported by an FDA grant, provides information to vet clinics and performs research related to antibiotic prescription practices in pets. As bacteria mutate or adapt to survive treatment, certain antibiotics are at risk of becoming ineffective. At the University of Minnesota's small animal vet clinic, which handles some of the state's more complicated cases, they have seen a dramatic increase in pets with infections associated with resistant bacteria.
And I certainly have seen that in practice where, a human has an antibiotic-resistant infection, and a dog that lives with that human comes into us and has an infection, maybe in a different location of the body, but with also the same organism, the same resistance pattern. So, so the closer we are, in contact with those animals, I think the greater the risk. And we're not going to get rid of our pets, right? They're part of our wellness. And so what we need to do instead is just be really careful about how we're treating our pets. Because we have to recognize as veterinarians, we're not just treating the pets, we're kind of treating the whole household in a way.
If pet owners are desperate to heal a sick cat or dog, however, Dr. Granick says they may pressure veterinarians to prescribe antibiotics. That may not be the best answer.
We created a handout that they can utilize and alter as they see fit, but the headline of that handout that goes home with the pet owner is, "Your pet does not need an antibiotic today," with an exclamation point, like it's a celebration, you know?
One southern Minnesota clinic that has collected data for the university's research is the Heartland Animal Hospital in Owatonna.
There's a lot of buzzwords that are associated with large animal production. A lot of those being antibiotic resistance, antibiotic use, your meat being safe or not safe. And of course, everything that's in the food chain is safe because of the withdrawals, and the producers are going to meet those withdrawals. So the challenging part is when you transfer that down to dogs and cats, of course, aren't in our food chain. So it makes it a lot different for people, and they don't realize that antibiotic resistance can happen, or antibiotic abuse, to be truthful, can happen in the small animal world as well.
Dr. Wilgerby says they're happy to get university updates on the best practices for treating various illnesses, particularly if an antibiotic has been proven unnecessary.
And so that's the challenging part as a veterinarian, is we need to balance people's expectations of their problem as well as offering solutions to the problem, but it's not always to reach for antibiotics.
Pets are not the only overlooked group of animals. Wildlife can be carriers or victims of resistant bacteria.
The great part about veterinary medicine is that as we gain more information, we can help do our job better. What would be great if it were to happen coming down the road would be suggested guidelines for antibiotic use. As far as having a duration of antibiotic and an antibiotic choice that would be most appropriate for the condition that you're seeing. That would be handy.
Dr. Wilgerby says antibiotics are critical to controlling certain illnesses, and the cost of losing that tool is too high.
Because if we didn't use antibiotics in the world, there would be a lot of death, both for people and for animals.
A strong warning from the experts. Hopefully we can avoid the very strong measures they're taking in Europe.